More milk powder being recalled because of Fonterra contamination. A new housing proposal from Li Xiaoqi. And Japan marks the 60th anniversary of the Hiroshima atomic bombing.
Good evening. New Zealand dairy giant Fonterra's tainted milk powder scare has continued to grow. Baby formula maker Nutricia has begun recalling its Caricare second-stage milk powder in Hong Kong, while American company Abbott is taking a precautionary step to recall a third-stage formula made in Shanghai. Meanwhile, Cowingate, the first manufacturer to issue a recall here in the SAR, has retrieved some 60,000 cans of its baby formula out of 80,000. Cowingate sent trucks to pick up the recalled formula from local pharmacies this morning. Concerned parents have been bringing back cans of the Stage 3 infant formula for an exchange or refund after 2 batches of the product were found to have used tainted ingredients produced by Fonterra. The company revealed last Friday that 38 tons of its whey protein had been tainted with a bacteria that can cause botulism, a potentially fatal illness. And the troubles haven't stopped there. Today, the Hong Kong distributor of Nutricia's Caricare announced it would preemptively recall some 600 cans of its second-stage milk formula in the city. New Zealand Milk Powder Hong Kong Limited said it was notified by Fonterra that 2 batches of the Caricare formula may also have been contaminated by botulism-causing bacteria. Nutricia is owned by French multinational Danone, another company that had imported Fonterra's tainted whey protein concentrate. Secretary for Food and Health Koh Man said on a radio show today that the Centre for Food Safety will step up monitoring at source and demand importers to check if other dairy products have been affected. Fonterra is under heavy criticism for the contamination scare, especially back home in New Zealand, where the economy relies heavily on dairy exports. But its damage control in China seems to have worked.
I'd also like to say that Fonterra has received confirmation from the Ministry for Primary Industries a short time ago that China has not imposed a blanket ban on Fonterra's products.
In China, milk powder manufacturer Abbott Laboratories has also begun recalling nearly 7,200 boxes of one of its third-stage formula manufactured on May 2nd this year. More than 100 boxes have already been sold. But the American company stressed that it was just a precautionary move because the products were only packaged in the Fonterra facility. It said products sold in Hong Kong were all manufactured in Europe and Singapore and did not involve Fonterra. Property tycoon Li Xiaoqi has come up with new suggestion on his plans to donate land for housing. The Henderson Land chairman had earlier suggested donating land to build homes for young people if the government would waive the land premium. But that idea got denied shortly afterwards. Now a Henderson spokesman said Li has another plan. This time he's focusing on the Martin Pok plot in Yuen Long, which spans some 60,000 square feet. The idea is to build 2 24-story buildings with more than 1,000 apartments, all about 300 square feet in size. The spokesman said Li is willing to pay $300,000 of land premium, as well as construction fees of about $900,000 for each unit first. When completed, the homes will be sold at cost to the target group, still young people. But that's only if the government will accept a land premium at lower than market price. Li is also said to be discussing with other non-profit groups over the donation of 2 to 3 pieces of land to them. It's hoped a deal will be reached within this year. Previously, housing society projects had been granted a 50% discount on land premium. But the premium on the Yuen Long farmland is valued at about $3,000 per square foot, and Li said at $1,500 per square foot, it's still too costly to carry out the proposed project. He said he doesn't mind losing a little money and may consider it if the premium can be set at $1,000 per square foot instead. Long-term Housing Strategy Steering Committee member Andy Kwan said this plan is a lot more feasible than the last one. He said at least if some land premium is paid and the homes are handled by the housing society, it won't bring up suspicions of collusion between property developers and the government.
Real estate agents have started a campaign against the government's latest property cooling measures. They claim the measures will seriously undermine their business and believe the general public are against them as well. Evelyn Leung reports.
This small real estate agency was forced to close down following the introduction of the latest property cooling measures. And it's not the only one. Even major players in the real estate industry, such as Centerline, are looking into closing down a third of its branches if the government continues with its property cooling measures. 8 main property estate agencies have grouped together to campaign against the government's measures. They called on the administration to cancel the double stamp duty, or DSD. If that can't be done, they want the government to extend the DSD exemption period from 6 to 12 months. Other demands include exempting limited companies whose shareholders are Hong Kong permanent residents from the buyer's stamp duty, relax requirements for mortgage applications for those changing property status, and set up a defined timeline for the stamp duty policy.
We think this issue, the request is reasonable and can manage. It's not a major amendment to all this ordinance. We just a minor amendment to ease the hardship on all different sectors. We are not the only party affected by this DSD or SST. There's a lot of people.
Hong Kong government claim that DSD is to try to protect the Hong Kong people, but even permanent residents suffer from DSD. One flat for living, one flat for renting is Hong Kong people's dream. DSD only frees the property market, at the same time frees the social mobility.
Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying said earlier that the government would continue to push ahead with its property cooling measures. He said the measures are necessary because there is still an abundant supply of hot money in the global market. Evelyn Leung, TVB News.
Turning overseas now, Japan marked the 68th anniversary of the atomic bombing of Hiroshima with a somber ceremony today. An estimated 50,000 people attended the memorial, which was held near the ground zero of the blast. Alan Buckner reports.
Hundreds of people arrived before sunrise to light incense and offer prayers to those who died as a result of the attack during the Second World War. There was a minute of silence at 8:15 a.m., the time the bomb was dropped. Following that, Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe read from a prepared speech. He said Japan has a duty to press for a world without nuclear weapons. He was followed by Hiroshima Mayor Kazumi Matsui, who chided Abe for speaking of a nuclear weapons-free world while at the same time negotiating with India to sell Japan's nuclear technology. Matsui also criticized Abe for wanting to restart nuclear plants in Japan in the wake of the meltdown at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant after the earthquake and tsunami in 2011. Among those attending the ceremony were some of an estimated 200,000 survivors of 2 atomic bombings still living, including Matsui's father. They have an average age of 79. The bomb dropped on Hiroshima released a mix of shock waves, heat rays, and radiation, killing an estimated 140,000 of the city's population of 350,000. 3 days after that attack, the United States dropped a second atomic bomb on the southern city of Nagasaki. Japan surrendered 6 days later. Alan Buckner, TVB News.
And Japan unveiled its biggest warship since World War II today. The huge flat-top destroyer has raised eyebrows in China and elsewhere because it bears a strong resemblance to an aircraft carrier. The ship, which has a flight deck that's nearly 250 meters long, is designed to carry up to 14 helicopters. The ship's launching ceremony was held at a shipbuilding port in Yokohama.
In the U.S. state of Pennsylvania, a gunman killed 3 people during a town meeting yesterday. Witnesses say the man first blasted shots through the wall of the municipal building in Salisbury. He then barged into the meeting and continued firing, killing 3 people before he was tackled by a local official and shot with his own gun. At least 2 other people were injured in the shooting. Police identified the shooter as 59-year-old Rockner Newell, who had been in a long-running dispute with officials who ordered him to vacate his dilapidated property. Newell had been living out of his car and in abandoned buildings since being rendered homeless.
In Turkey, a landmark trial that lasted 5 years ended with dozens of people receiving long prison sentences, including opposition lawmakers and a former military commander. Retired military chief of staff General Ilker Basberg was sentenced to life in prison for his role in the Ergenekon conspiracy. It was a plot to overthrow the government of Prime Minister Recep Tayyip Erdogan shortly after he was elected in 2002. 3 serving parliamentarians from the opposition party were sentenced to terms between 12 and 25 years in prison. 18 others, including former army personnel, were sentenced to life in prison. The trial has been a flashpoint between the country's secular establishment and Erdogan's Islamic-orientated political party. The verdict sparked protests as demonstrators clashed with riot police.
And still to come in the news. Drug bust in Tai Kok Tsui. Legal action against 2 Apple Daily reporters. And a report about test tube burger.
We're back tonight with more local news. Police arrested 2 men in Tai Kok Tsui yesterday suspected of trafficking and processing cocaine. Officers seized drugs worth more than $2 million. As Vicky Kong reports, the drugs were hidden inside photo albums.
Police say it's a rare but not unheard of way to try and get drugs past the authorities. Senior Inspector Chen Ka-chun explained today that absorbent paper was soaked in liquefied cocaine. The papers were then slotted in between 2 photos, which were laminated together and put inside photo albums. The photos were of everyday objects such as stones and plants. Police made their move yesterday and took away 1.8 kilos of cocaine from a flat on Tai Kok Tsui Road. Microwaves and other items officers suspect were used to process the drugs were also seized as evidence. Officers caught one of the 2 suspects red-handed with 109 grams of cocaine. Authorities say the drugs were sent to Hong Kong via express mail and were intended for the local market. Police did not rule out the possibility of arresting more people. They believe the apartment had been used to produce drugs for more than half a year. Vicky Kong, TVB News.
Pay TV broadcaster Now TV is under the spotlight for alleged fraud and bribery. The ICAC is investigating participants and a producer of the station's interactive quiz show. Viewers join in the quiz by a click of their buttons on their Now TV remote controls. The game involves 8 multiple-choice questions. Winners answering all of them correctly win $100,000 every contest night. The corruption watchdog has charged a brother and a sister for allegedly giving a bribe of up to $42,000 to buy the correct answer from the producer. They share the answers among other participants and won $350,000.
The Secretary for Justice has filed writs with the High Court accusing 2 Apple Daily reporters of contempt of court in connection with an interview with a murder suspect. This comes after the Apple Daily, the Sharp Daily and the newspaper's editors-in-chief were accused of the same offence last week. In March, the 2 newspapers published an interview with Henry Chow, who was accused of killing his parents in Tai Kok Tsui in March. His friend was also arrested in connection with the case. The newspapers interviewed Chow while he was remanded at Siu Lam Psychiatric Centre following his arrest. The Secretary for Justice said the 2 reporters, like the editors, were in contempt of court because they published the interview while judicial proceedings were underway. The Secretary for Justice also stressed he respects the freedom of press, but he also has to ensure a fair hearing for the murder suspects. A rise in the number of animal abuse cases has sparked calls for the government to improve animal protection. Rani Samtani has more.
Burning the dog, a stray cat, killed by 4 to 5, a teenager, just, kick the cat body until death. This is very, very cruel.
2 youngsters tortured 2 kittens who were just barely 3 months old. They tore their jaws apart. I actually taken photos of them.
These are just a few examples of the most severe animal cruelty cases in Hong Kong. Calls to increase animal protection have grown stronger after an alcoholic construction worker was convicted of torturing a stray cat to death in May. Last year, there were over 50 reported cases of animal abuse. David Wong, chief officer at Animal Earth, believes that animal abuse cases aren't given enough importance.
I think, first thing, the courts, from the past experience of the sentence levied on animal abusers, you can see that I think the personal attitude, the personal bias against animals is very apparent among judges.
Wong said the heaviest sentence handed down for cruelty against animals was 8 months in jail for a man who set a dog on fire, when the maximum penalty is 3 years. Wong has written to the Department of Justice to ask for an appeal against a sentence in the case involving the alcoholic construction worker. The man was sentenced to 3 months in prison. Animal rights activists are urging the government to step up public education and to set up a special police unit to deal with these cases.
In animal abuse cases, the difficult thing is the victim cannot voice out for themselves.
The police department had previously rejected the idea of setting up a special team to handle animal cruelty cases because there weren't enough incidents to warrant it. But Wong said it's important to have such a team because it will help deter violent acts against animals. Rani Samtani, TVB News.
All right, Tony, what's in sports today?
Well, we've got some baseball, cricket, but big scandal brewing in baseball right now. Major League Baseball has been left reeling after 13 players, including New York Yankees star A-Rod, were punished for having links to a clinic which supplied them with performance-enhancing drugs. It's yet another blow to the sport, which has seen its reputation tarnished in recent years by players who have repeatedly used banned substances.
The writing was on the wall that Major League Baseball was about to throw the book at some of its star players over their links to a Florida clinic which supplied banned substances. Sure enough, 13 players were handed tough punishments, including New York Yankees star slugger Alex Rodriguez, or A-Rod, who's been suspended for 211 games. That leaves the Major League's highest paid player out of action until the end of next season. The others also received stiff punishments. When asked whether he used drugs in his career, the three-time MVP didn't deny the charges.
I'm not going to get into any of that today. I think obviously disappointing with the news today. All of it has been challenging. I'm sure there's been mistakes made along the way. We're here now. I'm a human being. I've had 2 hip surgeries. I've had 2 knee surgeries. I'm fighting for my life. I have to defend myself. If I don't defend myself, no one else will.
Indeed, A-Rod vowed to challenge the ruling and can carry on playing while authorities consider his appeal. Ryan Braun's 65-game suspension last month brings to 18 the total number of players sanctioned for their connection with the clinic known as Biogenesis. But A-Rod's case is arguably the most notable given his fame.
Alex Rodriguez, Ryan Braun, those guys are unbelievable talents, and they were going to be good baseball players anyway, and it's unfortunate that they had to use those things.
MLB said Rodriguez's drug penalty was for his use and possession of numerous forms of prohibited performance-enhancing substances, including testosterone and human growth hormone over several years. He was also sanctioned for trying to cover his tracks in the process. As the Yankees went to bat against the White Sox, Chicago fans gave A-Rod a piece of their mind, booing him as he stepped up to the plate. His presence did nothing for New York, who slumped to an 8-1 defeat.
Well, England are thanking the weather gods after rain washed out the third test, helping them retain the Ashes against Australia. Both sides are aiming to win the final 2 matches, with the host looking to end the series on a high, while the tourists want to salvage some pride.
I think if we can level the series, we'll take a lot of confidence back to Australia. And I'm confident if we play the type of cricket we've played throughout the 4 days we have here, we'll give it a real good shake.
You know, the first objective was to retain the Ashes, and now, you know, we want to go and win them.
Meanwhile, Manchester United are trying to put on a brave face despite star striker Wayne Rooney wanting to leave the club. All seem normal as the Premier League champions arrive in Sweden ahead of another round of pre-season friendlies this week. United have already turned down an offer from Chelsea for Rooney, but the England forward seems determined to go to London.
And finally, a taste of the world's first stem cell burger took place in London yesterday. As Sonia Altero reports, with the demand for meat increasing, this in vitro technology is aimed at making our food supply safer and alleviating world hunger in a more sustainable manner.
The brainchild of the stem cell burger is a Dutch scientist who says growing meat in a test tube is a cinch.
We take a few cells from a cow, muscle-specific stem cells that can only become muscle. There's very little that we have to do to make these cells do the right thing. They divide by themselves.
Extracting just one muscle cell from one cow multiplies into 1 trillion cells that equate to 10 tons of meat. Beetroot and saffron are added for color, while eggs, breadcrumbs, and salt give the meat that flavor and texture we're accustomed to. Pound for pound, taste testers say compared to a real beef burger, this one lacked fat and texture.
I was expecting the texture to be more soft.
The absence is, I feel like, the fat.
Concerned about animal welfare is the reason Google's co-founder funded the $330,000 US project.
We have a vision in our minds of, there's this pristine farm, it's got still a couple cows, a couple chickens, but that's not actually how meat gets produced today. When you see how these cows are treated, and certainly something I'm not comfortable with.
Plus, it's a win-win for those concerned with the environment and world hunger.
Animals create a lot of methane, they create a lot of greenhouse gases, they're taking up a lot of farmland which could be used to grow vegetables and grains which would feed a lot more people.
Some London residents praise the invention.
I think it's great because I don't think people should be eating meat.
Others thought it was downright wrong.
It's horrible, it's unnatural, it's not organic.
Like it or not, there is a push for commercial production within 20 years, knowing the technology can be used to mass produce other animal meats, such as chicken and fish. No matter how you slice or dice it, experts say this is the food of the future. But for $330,000 US, that burger better come with some fries and a shake. Sonia Artero, TVB News.
I might stick to salad for tonight still.
Well, you're a vegetarian, so it's not like you're going to be eating it anytime soon.
That's the news for tonight. Thanks for watching.
Good night.
Good evening. We had mainly fine weather today. At 5 p.m., a ridge of high pressure brought very hot weather to southern China. Today's temperatures ranged from 27.4 to 33.1 degrees, and the relative humidity was between 68 to 87%. Winds were moderate east to southeasterlies. The current temperature is now 29.5 degrees Celsius, and the relative humidity is 82%. So, Freddie, how's weather tomorrow?
Oh.
Mainly cloudy tomorrow with a few showers and isolated squally thunderstorms. Temperatures will range from 27 to 31 degrees. Expect a few showers on Thursday, and then it'll be fine and hot later this week. Tomorrow's API is forecast at 15 to 75, and the air pollution level will range from low to high. The maximum UV index forecast for tomorrow will be about 8. And now to the latest global weather update. Sunny in Shanghai, showers in Taipei, cloudy in Xiamen. Cloudy in Guangzhou, showers in Macau, rain in Chengdu. Rain in Beijing, cloudy in Seoul, bright in Tokyo. Thunderstorms in Bangkok, rain in Ho Chi Minh City, showers in Manila. Cloudy in Kuala Lumpur, thunderstorms in Singapore, rain in Jakarta. Thunderstorms in New Delhi, showers in Karachi, rain in Mumbai. Sunny in Cairo, showers in Nairobi. Sunny in Brisbane, showers in Sydney and Melbourne, bright in Auckland. Showers in Toronto, thunderstorms in New York. Sunny in Vancouver, bright in San Francisco and Los Angeles. Cloudy in London, thunderstorms in Paris, showers in Amsterdam, Frankfurt and Zurich. And that's weather. Have a lovely evening.